We're not going to do an intro, even though you saw the shader brush video like a week ago. But we're just rolling, so we're just going to act like we've been here all day. We're going to talk about the brushes I use for blending, for transition. Yeah, because I don't do crease work because my crease, let me find a thin brush. My crease hides under my puff. And so I actually just put my lid shade in there. Because if I put something in the crease, when I look up, you're not going to see it. So I don't do transition, crease, and then lid. I just do lid, and my transition is like way up here. So these are my blending brushes. And it's almost full, so I can, get a few, excuse me for the glares. I can get a few fingers in there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull out just one of each, because if I like a brush, I get more, unless it's just like a random thing, a random brush. And apologies that I didn't do this earlier, even though I could just edit it out, but I think I can do this quick enough where it's not annoying, like, girl, you sitting here for 5 minutes, pulling out your brushes. So I'm making sure I just have one of everything. And I do believe, oh, here's a random brush. If a brush is gifted to me, that will be the only one that I have. So, oh, then here's another one. So, did I pull this one out? No, and I didn't pull out. I did. Something's missing. Something ain't right. Outer. Oh, don't drop anything. Yeah, I should have edited this out. Oh, here we go. All right. So these are all the brushes that I use for blending, detail work, crease work, work. That's these. These are all the duplicates, triplicates. So we're going to put that away. So then as I use these, I can put these back. So let's start with Makeup Geek. When she was going out of business, when her business was going out of business, okay, let me get it right. In case y'all don't know, I'm exhausted. When she was going out of business, stuff was like half off on her website, and I didn't have any of her brushes. And I said, you know what? Half off was like, if it was half off, was it 60% off? I don't know. But these were $10 a piece. I bought 3 of each, hoping I would like them. This one says soft dome brush. I seldom use this brush. And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, why do I have it? I have tried it for, just pack and shadow. And because I don't, what's this dome brush? So I think most people would use it for blending their crease or their transition shade, but because I don't do a traditional crease shade or a traditional transition shade, this is kind of just lost on me. Like, I don't use it. I think I maybe use it 3 times, and I made myself use it for a transition shade, but it's too big for me for that, because I take my lid shades up here. Even if I'm putting a transition shade, well, really ends up being under my brow bone, this brush covers that area. You see what I'm saying? And so it's just too big for me. And so I need to figure out what to do with those. I'm going to keep that out. Where am I going to put it? Because maybe I'll just give it away. Because I wash my brushes after every use. And if I'm going to give them away, and I have given away brushes before, I wash them before I send them off. And then, of course, they wash them when they get them. So maybe that's what I'll do with this, because I just don't use it. It is soft. It feels nice. It works. So if you have a more pronounced area where you put your transition color, or if you have deep set eyes, like my lids are hooded. This is my mobile lid. It's hooded. So you see the mobile lid from here to here. When I look up, you see a sliver. This puff is covering down here. So it's creating a hood. This is a hood. This is what they call a hood. And mine's is puffy. So I just call it the puff. Deep set eyes are when, say I'm looking like this. Let me do this. And you can see into my crease. You can see my mobile lid. And you can see into my crease, and you can see my transition shade. But if your crease looks like it goes back, like how some people, this is a perfect example right here, how when some people look at you, this is what their eye looks like all the way across, though, not just right here. But when they look at you, you can see their mobile lid, you can see into the crease, and you can see their transition area. That is a deep set eye. Sometimes people consider their eyes to be hooded because when they look a certain way, it may look like up here is covering the crease area. And so it can give the appearance of being a hooded lid, but it's not. If your lid is hooded, like you see this is covering my lid. This is a hooded lid. If you can see into your crease, it's not a hooded lid. But if you have deep set eyes and you can see back into your socket, even if this looks like it sags, if you can see into your socket, that's a deep set eye. It's not a hooded lid. A perfect example is our beloved Mel Thompson, who is no longer here. She had deep set eyes. And so for that, this would be great because if you do your transition, you know, you have that here and you can see it. You can see that entire transition area. And then you take a smaller brush and do your crease shade. You put this directly in the crease. And when you look up, you can see the transition shade and you can see your crease shade. Whereas for me, you're not going to see it. So I hope that made sense, the difference between hooded lids and deep set eyes and hooded lids versus deep set eyes. Because it can be confusing. It can be because hooded lids, deep set eyes may look like hooded lids, but they're really not. If you can see into the crease, that's not a hooded lid. And hooded lids are not hooded eyes. Hooded eyes is if this came down and it actually like covered part of my eye, like part of where the white of my eye is. And so I think it's just a habit that most people say hooded eyes when they have hooded lids. My lids are hooded. If you look at Brad Pitt, if you look at Gerard Butler, those are hooded eyes because their lid actually covers down to here. You know what I'm saying? So there's a little tidbit. Sometimes I go on rants and tangents. So I think I'm going to consider giving this away to someone who would actually use it because this is just not beneficial for my eye shape because I don't do the traditional transition crease type thing. This one says outer V brush. I seldom use this one too. What I use it for though, I do use for outer V sometimes, but I really find that I don't like to for outer V because it is a dense brush. All of the brushes are soft. Excuse me. But it's dense to the point where if I just place the shadow, and if it's a good shadow, meaning it's pigmented, if I do the V, it's hard for me to blend it out with this brush because the brush is dense. And so I tend not to use this brush. So maybe I'll get rid of this one too. If I want a sharp V and I don't want it blended, this would be good for that. However, if you have smaller eyes than me, or if you have deep set eyes, I think this would be great as a crease brush because you can get it right in there because it's small. You see what I'm saying? So I do think if you did transition shade, crease shade, I think this would be good for you. And I have 3 of these as well. So I think I'm going to give these away. This would be good also for lower lash line if you want to blow out your lower lash line. But I have so many brushes, y'all. So it's just like, so I'm going to leave that one out too and think on that. This is the other one. It says defined crease brush. And you see where it's very tiny. It's smaller than the outer V brush, which is smaller than the dome brush. So the defined crease brush, this is great. Even if you have small eyes, if you have small space, this will fit right into the crease. And you can just, but again, so if you do transition and then you do your crease shade, this will fit in there. This is good for outer V. It has more give than the previous one I showed you that said outer V brush. This has more give. And so this one, when I do outer V, because it has more give to it, this one does place and blend at the same time, whereas this one doesn't blend for me. And it might be my skill set. So it may just be that. But this one I have used for outer V because it has a little more give. I can place and blend and still maintain the sharpness of the V, but it's also blended around the edges. This also I use sometimes for lower lash line shade because it's small enough to fit under there and it'll buff at the same time. I may have used it once or twice, for under my brow bone and also probably for inner corner, but mostly I use this just for outer V work. That's what I use this one for. So this one is a keeper. This is it's a Blend Bunny brush. And it says Blend Bunny Cosmetics. It's the B5. I believe all the Blend Bunny ones were crease brushes. I never used this brush and I forgot that I had it, but oh man, this is really soft. And it's because I don't do traditional transition crease work, but this would be really great for this. You know what this will be good for me? Is when I have my eye look done, or sometimes I'll say I'll take a brush with no shadow and just do extra blending. That's what this would be good for because it is soft. And yeah, I'm gonna use this one for that. So I'll just use this just as a random brush to do further blending if I feel like I need it, or further buffing under here. But this would be good for, transition and also your crease and up to your transition area. And if you want to you can still, place on your lid. But usually the dome brushes are what people use for blending. Again, use your brushes however you want to. That is so soft. This one, this is a LaRouche brush. It came in Ipsy, BoxyCharm, something. And it says tapered blending brush. Excuse me. This one I use the same as this one. I'll use it, and this has more give than the Makeup Geek one. So this I'll use for outer V if I don't want it as defined, because this one is fluffier than the previous one I showed you. So I will do this for outer V, or if my outer V is too harsh for me, and sometimes I do like a harsh look. So sometimes my looks are like, she ain't blend that. Sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes it's not, but sometimes it is. And so this one I will go in and just further buff out the outer V line, or buff out lower lash line. But this is good for me for my outer V. That's what I use this one for. And it does say, as I said somewhere, tapered blending. So I'm thinking it's for crease or transition. I don't know. But I use it for outer V work. So that's that one. I only have one because that came in the subscription box. These two I only have one of. These were gifted to me with a bunch of other Sigma stuff from Grace, and both of them say blending. This one says medium blending. This one says small blending. Why is the small blending larger and fluffier than the medium blending? I'm reading what it says on here. Small tapered blending, excuse me, medium tapered blending. This one I like for if I am placing a transition shade, and I like that it's tapered because I can just get a thin-ish line just using the tip of the brush. And so you see how you see just the tip, that's where the shadow goes, and then I can put more pressure to blend it out. And so I hope you're seeing what I'm seeing down here, because if I look up, I'm not going to be able to see it. But just the tip of the brush to get the shadow there very lightly, and then just put a little more pressure to blend it out. So I do really like this brush for that. This one I used for the same purpose. If I want a little more detail, because it is a little bit smaller, I have used this for outer V as well because it's fluffy. So if I want an outer V that's not really defined, or an outer V and to blend at the same time. So I'll do the V, come here, come in, that's the V. Come here, that's the V. Come here, that's the V. And then I'll do this and just kind of feather it inward. That's usually what I use this one for. But you can use it for, your crease if you do a traditional crease shade. So that's what I use this for. Outer V and then blend it inward. I was going to say the last few. Oh my gosh. This brush, I didn't understand it when I first got it. This is a Scott Barnes. I thought it was a shader brush, and trying to put shadow on the lid because of how it is shaped, this right here, I'm like, I can't get near the lid. So I'm like trying to do, trying to get on the lid. And I looked again on the website, which is not on the website anymore. They said this is a crease shade. And I'm like, duh. So you put it in your crease, and because of the shape of it, and I was really like, for months, I'm like trying to be like, I can't get it on the lid. It's a crease brush. So you put it in your crease and you just go back and forth with the shadow. But I don't do crease shades. And so maybe I should consider giving this away. I have used this for concealer. Maybe I'll give this one away too. I have at least 2 of them. So I'm gonna leave this one out too. Maybe I'll give this away as well. Cause yeah, I don't. I was trying to think of when I last used it, and I don't know. Oh, you know what? I do use this. Never scratch that. I'm keeping this. What I use this for, and I think I see 3 right now. What I use these for is if I'm doing 2 different transition / brow bone shades, transition shades, because I'll use one, and this allows me to put that shadow directly where I want it because it's thin. That doesn't help because it's blending into my complexion. Shoot. Okay, how can I do this? So it's a thin brush. So it allows me to just get that shade like right here in my transition area. And then I'll put that down, take a clean one, take another shade, and put that on the second half of my transition area. So that's what I use these 2 for. How did I forget that? Because I'm exhausted and I'm tired. So I will be keeping these. That is what I use them for. If I'm doing 2 different transition shades, and then I'll take a clean one and put transition over there. And then that's when I'll take, something like this and then just kind of buff it. So yeah. Thank you for helping me remember what the hell I was doing. This one I don't use that often. This is a Fenty number 210. It says blending brush because it's stubby. It serves a purpose. If you are just doing a transition shade and you want to get this entire area, whereas the other one I showed you how it's tapered, so you can just get the tip here and do that. This one doesn't have a tip. So the whole thing is just going to be shadow. It's not just going to be the tip. So, but if I do have a shade, which I usually don't do this, because you see how wide this is, because usually my lid shades come up to here, which means this is already too big for this area. You see what I'm saying? So maybe I'll give these away. I'm gonna leave this one out. I'm gonna leave this out. I have at least, oh, I see 3. I see 2 more over there, so at least 3 of these. And so, excuse me for smacking, but this would be good for transition, blending, but I don't use it often. When I do use it, I tend to just use it after I've done a look and I want to blend more for outer corner. I'll just take it and just like pull it inward to further the blend. But I don't use it for placement because it's too wide for me for that. So let me think about that one. But I do really think these 2 are going to go somewhere. The last 3, the ones you see me use the most. You don't even see me use this the most. Let me stop lying. This is the Esom V33. The same concept as the Fenty one. It's not as fluffy. It's a little more tapered down here, but it's stubby like the Fenty one. And it's about the same height as the Fenty one. I don't use this often, but when I do, I drink those sakis. This one I use if I've done my eye look and I just want to do more blending up here without putting shadow on the brush. I'll just do some more blending up here or feathering in here. I prefer this one over this one just because this one is just so friggin' big. But this one I do tend to use more. So I could get rid of the Fenty one because I think I have at least like 3 of these as well. I do see 3 of these. Yeah, I'm looking, I see 3 of these. And so I could get rid of the Fenty. I don't think I would miss it because this gives me more control because it is smaller. So I'm just feathering inward or if I'm, doing extra blending up here without adding shadow on the brush. That is what I use this for. If you do, transition, this is good for that. If you do crease, this is good for that. But for me, I use it just feathering inward or very lightly blending out up here, up top. So we have two more. I like both of these because they're tapered. Same concept as the other tapered one that I showed you. This is Scott Barnes that you cannot find unless you find it secondhand somewhere. I do want him to bring these brushes back because they are good brushes. Expensive, soft. They do what they're supposed to do. But then my concern is, and not that I would buy more because I have enough brushes. This eye is really tearing. So maybe I'll demonstrate on this eye from now on. Is if he brings them back, is it going to be the same or is it going to be different quality or whatever? And I've had these, I don't remember how long I've had these brushes. Because I purchased the entire set and then I went back and purchased more of the ones I really like most. But this, I like that it's tapered. I use it for blending and the same concept. I can just put, can you see me as well over here? No, I think you see better on this side because this side has a shadow. And it's tearing in here, so the bristles aren't really going in there. Why does it look like shimmer on my eyelids? What the hell? I don't know. But the same concept. If I'm putting a shade here, my upper transition area is what I call it. I can just use the tip of the brush. So you see just the tip of the brush is there. And once the shadow is there, I'll put more pressure and let the brush do the work to blend it. So this for me is good for placement, direct placement, and then for blending. And sometimes I'll just feather. Like if I have one transition shade here and another one over here from using the other brush, or I might use this one, then I'll just use the side just to feather it to get that blend. And so I like this for that. And it's also good for a non-precise outer V because it is larger and is fluffier. And then feather that inward. So this is good for that. I think this would also be good for just an all over shade. If you're just doing a one and done, because this, you can just easily go back and forth, your mobile lid into your crease, up to your transition. This would be easy for a one and done, but then so would, I think, not so much as this one. Well, yeah, well, if you can get close to your lash line. This would be good for one and done too, and so with this one. But for some reason, just these tapered brushes, I really like the taper brushes because it gives me more options with being more direct with my transition shades and then going back, putting more pressure, letting the brush blend it out, or just sweeping shadow over to do a blend that way. And because it's tapered, if I wanted to be lazy, I can just place under my brow because it is tapered. And that's the same concept with this one. The difference between the Scott Barnes and this one is an Hourglass number 6, is that the Scott Barnes is a little bit taller, it's a little more tapered. And so I usually reach for this one. However, I do really like this one because the same concept. I can let the tip do the work, but it's not going to be as precise as Scott because it's not as tapered as Scott. And I do like this one also for outer V work if I don't want it to be sharp, because it is a little bit fluffier. So I'll do the V and then feather inward, or I'll take this without any shadow on it and just do further blending with my transition shades. And also I use this for my brow bone shade if I just want to tap it on, and I use Scott for that as well. You'll see me just tapping it because it's pointed, it's tapered, so I can just tap where I want it and then I'll lightly just feather it over for blending purposes. And so the Hourglass one and the Scott one I used the same way. So that is it for the blending brushes. We're at 24 minutes. Do we want to do lower lash line while we're here? And then we have upper lash line left. No, let's end this video. And we'll come back, and the last one will be lower lash line brushes and upper lash line brushes. And so thank you for being here. Same deal. Subscribe, like, comment, share, join, all that good stuff. And as always, even though we didn't do the intro, as always, self-acceptance, self-love. That is the Crazy Troll Nation way. Thank you, and you will see me very soon.